Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources, we sort of peel back the layers, and pull out the most surprising, insightful stuff.
Yeah, the nuggets of knowledge.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into something really fascinating. Buddhist ethics. We're using the source not about being good, a practical guide to Buddhist ethics.
It's a great one. It really challenges a lot of what we think ethics even are.
Right.
Yeah.
So our mission today.
Well, I think it's to uncover how these ancient teachings offer, really profound real-world relevance, how they help navigate daily life, foster genuine wisdom, basically transform how we are.
That search for meaning. So
Yes.
universal, isn't it?
Totally.
A lot of us, like the author here, spent our childhoods wrestling with those huge why questions. She talks about being 11 in chapel, Catholic school, and suddenly thinking, what if God is just something humans made up to explain things we don't understand?
Wow. Yeah. She says it felt like her whole inner world just crumbled.
It's such a vivid image, and she remembers the exact pew she was in.
That kind of moment sticks with you. And like a lot of people, she then turned to science, right? Hoping physics would have the answers.
Yeah, the big why about the universe. But even after an honors degree, she still felt mixed up, as she puts it, still searching.
Felt she wasn't clever enough, which is relatable for anyone hitting those big questions.
So after all that searching, what was the turning point with Buddhism? What actually shifted for her?
Well, it was the kind of question that changed. It wasn't, why is the universe like this anymore?
Oh.
It became, how should I live my life within it? That shift from why to how, that's huge.
That feels much more actionable.
Exactly. It makes wisdom practical, not some abstract thing you either have or don't have. The source really emphasizes this. Real wisdom is in your lived attitudes, your behavior. It's hands-on.
Okay, so this shift from why to how does that change our approach to ethics? Does it mean we just ditch the rule book?
Well, it definitely moves us away from just blindly following conventions, yeah. The author says we need to keep an eye out for values we've just sort of absorbed without thinking.
Like about food or relationships or money.
We're parenting, yeah, all those things. The idea is to clear the ground for what she calls natural morality, which is like a wisdom that grows from really looking at the consequences of things, not just because someone said so.
I guess this brings us to those core Buddhist terms. You hear about actions being skillful or unskillful instead of just good or bad. What's the difference there?
That's key. The terms are kusala and akusala. And what makes an action one or the other isn't just the act itself. It's the intention behind it.
Okay. Intention.
Yeah. If your actions come from generosity, love, goodwill, wisdom, that's kusala, skillful.
Okay.
But if they come from selfishness, ill will, hatred, delusion, that's a kusala, unskillful.
So it's not about just like ticking boxes on some external list.
Not at all.
That feels pretty radical compared to a lot of ethical systems, doesn't it?
It is.
You could do all the right things on the outside, but if your inner state is, I don't know, resentful or confused, it's still unskillful.
That's the core insight. It shifts the whole focus inward to the heart of the action.
It gives you a lot of freedom,
Yep.
but also a lot of responsibility.
Definitely. And it reminds me of this great little story in the source. The author worked in a Buddhist gift shop, and she used to visit this quiet secondhand bookstore in a basement. And one day, she finds this handwritten page torn from a notepad, a to-do list.
Okay. What was on it?
Well, things like buy an alarm clock, collect screwdrivers, pretty normal stuff. But then right there among them was, try to be less selfish today.
Wow. She slipped in there.
Yeah. And she wondered, did they manage it that day? She didn't doubt they meant it, but she also admits how incredibly hard it is to actually be unselfish, even for one day.
Oh, totally. You start with good intentions, and then life happens, the moment takes over, and poof, you forget.
Exactly. It highlights that real human struggle. We forget the things we actually mean to do.
It really grounds the whole thing in, like, everyday reality, not just theory.
Precisely. Which leads us nicely into the next big idea. Integration.
Oh, okay, let's unpack that. What does integration mean in this context? Is it just like having it all together?
Sort of, yeah. The source talks about it as growing up, becoming more adult, more clear-headed about yourself, getting all your different parts, your energies, pulling in the same direction, being able to follow through on things, and crucially, understanding that your actions actually do have an effect out there in the world.
I can see how that connects to taking responsibility for your own moods. We're so quick to blame other people or, circumstances for how we feel.
Oh, absolutely. It's the default, isn't it?
Yeah. But maturity, in this view, is
Right.
realizing, okay, stuff happens to me, I don't choose that. But I do choose how I respond.
That's a tough one, though. The author tells the story where she complained to a friend. She'd been feeling really positive, right?
Hmm.
Until someone came along, dumped all their negativity on her, and suddenly she felt awful. And she's telling her friend this, expecting sympathy.
Hmm.
And the friend just gives her this look, a roguish twinkle, she says, and points out that if her positive state could be knocked over that easily, maybe it wasn't that strong to begin with.
Ouch. But true.
Yeah. A truly positive state, the friend implied, should be able to handle whatever comes along.
That's a real wake-up call. She said she felt exhilarated by that, didn't she?
She did. Because it puts the power back in your hands, self-reliance, not being emotionally dependent.
And this links to another practice for integration she talks about, keeping your word. How does breaking your word show a lack of integration?
Well, it shows that disconnect, doesn't it? Between what you intend or say and what you actually do. She uses this really relatable example, borrowing books from the poetry library.
Ah, yes. The overdue library book's guilt. I know it well.
Me too. She loves getting the books, but is terrible at returning them on time. They pile up, become overdue.
And you get that little reminder notice and feel that pang of shame, burden.
Exactly. She describes feeling ashamed, burdened, and a bit paranoid, and you kind of avoid the librarian's eye when you finally take them back.
But when you do return them on time,
You feel clear, light, and at ease. It's such a simple thing, but intentionally keeping your word, being on time, following up, it matures you.
it builds integrity, even in small ways.
Right, and it's not about being rigid or boringly predictable. The source makes a nice point. A Buddha is reliably compassionate, but spontaneously so. It's not robotic.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so this idea of action and consequence,
Yeah.
that leads us straight to karma, right?
Yep. And in Buddhism, karma isn't fate or destiny. It literally just means willed or volitional action. Things you choose to do with your speech, your mind, your body.
And the consequences.
That's karma vipaka, the fruit or result of the action. And it's seen as being appropriate to the intention, the volitional impulse behind the karma.
Okay, so it's cause and effect, but specifically related to our choices.
Exactly. And to really get it, you need the Buddha's big insight about conditionality. Basically, everything arises and passes away depending on a whole network of conditions. It's not random, but it's complex.
Right.
And later Buddhists categorize these conditions into 5 niyamas, natural laws. There are laws for inorganic matter, organic life, simple consciousness.
And karma?
Karma niyama is one of them, yes. The law of intentional actions and their effects. And then there's dharma niyama, about how beings can become Buddhas.
So karma is just one piece of the puzzle.
Crucially, yes. Which means not everything bad that happens to you is your fault because of past karma.
That's actually really important.
It is. The example used is getting an upset tummy. It could be karma-like, maybe regret over an argument, but it could also be the pickles you ate, inorganic, the flu organic, or just nerves, simple consciousness, or a mix.
So it puts personal responsibility in a bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like everything is down to your past moral failings.
Precisely. But, and this is the flip side, the profound implication is still that you tend to create the world you live in through your volitional actions.
How so?
The source uses Aesop's fable. 2 travelers, a man at a crossroads. First traveler comes along, grumpy, asks about the next village. The man asks him what his last village was like. Full of thieves and rogues, says the traveler. Well, says the man, the next one's just the same.
Okay.
Then a second traveler arrives, smiling. Same question. What was your last village like? Oh, friendly, hardworking people, he says. Ah, says the man, you'll find the next one's just like that too.
Ah, I see. It's about perception. But maybe more.
It's more. It's not just that you see the world differently based on your mood. It's that your inner disposition actually affects the reality you encounter. The source says a kind of affinity operates.
Like attracts like.
Sort of. Like the example of the sunny friend who seems to find smiling people everywhere because his own attitude brightens people up.
Right. So our actions and intentions really do shape our experience.
They really do. Which connects deeply to this idea of moving beyond just intelligent selfishness toward really resonating with life.
Okay, that's a big question then. Are we just doing all this ethical stuff for ourselves?
Yeah.
For our own happiness?
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
But the source tackles it directly. It talks about the paradox of the spiritual life.
Which is?
True happiness, the really deep kind, doesn't come from focusing on yourself. It comes from deeply caring about the welfare of others.
So it's not selfish at all, even intelligently so.
Yeah.
It actually expands outward.
Exactly. What we think of as a clear conscience, it isn't something, it's a sensibility, an ability to resonate, to empathize with other living beings. And the more that wish for others' well-being is genuinely free from self-interest, the more powerful and fulfilling it actually becomes. Your own happiness gets tied up with imaginatively identifying with others.
And this imaginative identification, it's not just about being, like, passively nice, is it?
No, not at all. It's about affirming others, seeing their potential, not just, going along with their weaknesses or complaining with them.
The source mentions Sangharakshita's ideas here. The power mode versus the love mode.
Yeah. Power mode is basically about diminishing others, negating their life in some way. Love mode is about affirming life, nurturing it. There's that great anecdote about the friend whose German husband played loud rock music.
Oh, right. She used to get really annoyed, thinking he was just being inconsiderate.
Totally fuming about it.
Yeah.
But then she was on a retreat and she decided to just stop her own story.
Yeah.
And try to put herself in his shoes.
What happened?
She wrote from his perspective, and she realized, wow, he misses Germany. This music connects him to home. It completely flipped her understanding, her feelings about it.
That's proper imaginative identification, seeing from the other side.
It really is. And we all have that natural instinct, don't we, to protect our loved ones. The Buddhist term pima captures that natural affection.
Yeah, for your family, your close friends.
But the challenge is, do we stop there? Do we create this little inward-looking bubble, or do we use that feeling as a starting point to expand outwards?
So can that empathy stretch beyond people who might reciprocate, like feeling for strangers caught in a disaster?
That's the aspiration, to consciously widen that circle. And the Source gives a really practical way to do this day to day.
Which is?
Doing kind things without expecting anything back. Challenging that bookkeeping mentality.
Like, oh, it's not my turn to empty the compost bin.
Exactly. You might be technically right, but is that the most generous, expansive way to live? The Source suggests thinking of life more like creating poetry than, well, bookkeeping.
I like that. Poetry, not bookkeeping.
And this plays out so powerfully in the story of the Buddhist restaurant co-op. Remember that one?
Yeah, where things had gotten a bit tense. People were tired, defensive, snapping at each other, kind of me-orientated, as the source puts it.
Exactly. And then this new person joins the team, and she just has a completely different vibe. If someone looked tired, she'd offer, hey, let me work your shift, or she'd paint the staff room on her day off. Just helpful.
Without making a big deal about it.
Totally selfless. And it changed everything. That tense, me-first atmosphere just dissolved. It became what the source calls a field of mutual generosity.
Wow.
Because suddenly, it wasn't just one person looking out for number one. It was 6 or 7 people looking out for everyone. The whole culture shifted. Work felt more like play.
That's incredible, just from one person's consistent generosity.
It shows the power, doesn't it? Which brings us to communication. Because speech is action, right? It really influences people, affects the world.
Definitely. So how do we make our communication more skillful? The source talks about 4 speech precepts.
Right. First one, truthful speech. This is about factual accuracy, avoiding exaggeration, distortion.
So instead of dramatically saying, I'm starving,
maybe just say, I'm hungry. Or instead of labeling your boss a maniac, describe the specific actions that are causing difficulty. It pushes you towards observation, not just venting.
that's a useful distinction. Okay, second.
Kindly speech. This is huge. The anecdote about the team member who always arrived in a bad mood is great here. Everyone was kind of scared of him.
Until someone spoke up.
Yeah. But the person who did it, she first worked on her own state of mind. Meditation, patience. She realized kindness would build trust better than harshness. And it worked. He was amazed, hadn't realized the effect he was having, and promised to try and change.
That takes courage, but also wisdom.
It does. And kindly speech also includes rejoicing in merits, actively noticing and mentioning the good things about others, like shining a little sunbeam on their positive qualities.
I like that image. Okay, third precept.
Meaningful speech, basically abstaining from useless chatter, frivolous idle talk. The source points out the Buddha listed maybe 32 kinds. Now with modern media, it's like infinite.
We're drowning in it sometimes.
And being constantly contactable, always on, it affects our minds. There's the example of the poetry teacher asking students to turn off phones.
Not just to avoid interruptions.
Right, but as a signal to their own psyche. Okay, we're shifting gears now. We're entering a different kind of space, a creative space. Meaningful speech needs pauses, depth. It comes from connecting with yourself and your surroundings, not just filling silence.
Makes sense. And the fourth one?
Harmonious speech. This is about abstaining from slander, from speech that causes discord, avoiding gossip, blame that just stirs things up.
And actively doing the opposite.
Yes, actively cultivating harmony, passing on compliments you hear about someone, sharing good news about others. It weaves people together, creates a stronger, more beautiful community, like a tapestry.
So truthfulness, kindness, meaningfulness, harmony, that's a powerful set.
It is, and the Buddha's own approach from the Abhaya Sutta kind of sums it up. He'd only speak if something was true, beneficial, and it was the right time, even if the message itself was difficult or disagreeable.
Timing is everything with difficult conversations.
Absolutely. Choosing the right time and place.
And the final piece of skillful communication here. It's about listening, isn't it?
Oh, hugely important. Real listening. Not just waiting for your turn to jump in, especially when things get heated.
The author mentions a friend's advice when she was stuck complaining about something.
Yeah. How about instead of talking more, you listen more? Simple, direct, and often exactly what's needed.
That's challenging advice, but probably very wise.
It really is. And all these communication skills, they help us move towards embracing imperfection, which is the next big area.
Okay, embracing imperfection. How do we even start with that? It sounds hard.
Well, one starting point is mindfulness, but not just mindfulness as a relaxation technique, more like a way to go deeper.
Deeper how?
Like imagine your mind is an ocean. The surface can be choppy, turbulent, right? But if you go deeper, beneath the waves, you can find these really spacious, rich, calm states. Mindfulness helps you access that depth.
Ah, okay. So it's not about ignoring the turbulence, but finding the stillness underneath.
Exactly. And engaging from that deepy place allows you to work towards an ideal, even knowing things are imperfect. The author's story about copying the Buddhist text is really good here.
The calligraphy project she was going to burn anyway.
Yeah. She was making it as an offering, so when she made mistakes, her first thought was, well, doesn't matter, it's getting burnt.
But something stopped her.
Yeah, this inner voice said, basically, do it again, make it the best it can be for its own sake. Not for her, not for glory, just for the act itself.
That's really interesting. So the process, the intention behind it, became more important than the outcome.
Precisely. It liberated her from attachment to the result. Accepting the imperfection, the transience that's going to be burnt, actually freed her up to focus on the sincerity of the offering.
That's a subtle but powerful shift.
It is, and it connects to overcoming things like hatred. The source makes a clear distinction. Hatred is the desire to do harm. It's different from anger, which can sometimes be skillful.
Right. Hatred just wants to destroy.
And it narrows your whole perspective. It's never justified, according to this view, even if you feel you're completely in the right. Because, as the Buddha said, not by hatred or hatred's ever pacified, they are pacified by love. Adding more negativity just doesn't work.
It's a fundamental law, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we mess up, if we act out of hatred or unskillfulness, what then? This brings us to remorse versus guilt.
Yes. The Buddhist term avray means remorse. And it's seen as a positive thing, believe it or not.
Positive, but it feels bad.
It feels painful, yes, but it's a healthy pain. It shows you have values and you have the sensitivity to know you've gone against them. In fact, the more ethically sensitive you become, the more shri you might feel when you slip up.
Okay, I see. It's a sign you care. How is that different from guilt?
Well, guilt, as the source describes it, often relies on ideas of sin or breaking rules set by some external authority. It tends to make you focus on yourself, oh, I'm so bad, rather than on the harm done to the other person. It can paralyze you.
Whereas remorse?
Remorse faces the action squarely. It acknowledges the harm, feels the pain of it, and that clarity is what allows you to learn and get back on track.
And that naturally leads to apology.
Yes. A real unqualified apology. Not, I'm sorry I yelled, but you were really annoying me.
Just, I'm sorry I yelled, full stop.
Exactly. The source calls it a deliberate letting go of self, a spiritual act.
Yeah.
You make yourself vulnerable.
That takes guts.
It does. And then there's confession in the Buddhist sense. Again, not confessing sins to God or a priest.
What is it then?
It's more like a ritualized way to fully acknowledge your unskillfulness. To say, okay, I did this, this was the intention, I see the harm, and I intend to move on from this. It brings it fully into consciousness.
And helps build trust in a community, I imagine.
Definitely. It intensifies that helpful remorse and shows others you're serious about your ethical path. But there's a big caution.
Which is?
Be careful how and when you confess, especially if it directly involves someone else. Is it timely? Is it going to help harmonize things or just knock them off balance?
Right. You don't want to make things worse by blurting something out insensitively.
Exactly. Maybe talk to a trusted friend or mentor first to figure out the best way, or if it's even necessary to tell the person directly.
Good point. And what happens after confession? Is that it?
No, that's also really important. Unskillfulness, messing up, it usually happens when we lose touch with our values, our inspiration. So right after acknowledging the mistake, you need to reconnect.
Right.
Read something inspiring. Think about people who embody the qualities you admire. Remind yourself why you're trying to live this way. Guilt keeps you stuck in the mud. Reconnecting with values pulls you out.
Like hitting the reset button, but with positive intention.
Yeah. And there's that powerful affirmation. The Buddha was born as we are born. What the Buddha overcame, we too can overcome. What the Buddha attained, we too can attain.
That's incredibly hopeful. It speaks to that potential within everyone.
It really does. Which brings us to this whole journey of rebirth, moving beyond just trying to be good. And maybe the toughest challenge on this path. Forgiveness.
Oh yeah, forgiveness is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it feels almost outrageous, doesn't it? Especially from a fairness perspective.
Completely. The source mentions this TV program about families who'd suffered terrible losses. Some had forgiven, some hadn't.
And the difference was visible.
Strikingly so, apparently. The ones who hadn't forgiven kept asking, why should we? They seemed sort of wizened, smaller, bitter. But those who had managed to forgive, even with all their pain, seemed more upright, more open.
Wow. So the reasons to forgive, it's for yourself, really, to release that pain, stop creating more hostility.
Yes, to avoid future regret. And the reasons not to forgive. Well, sometimes there's a kind of grim pleasure in feeling superior, or righteous anger becomes part of your identity, being the good one while the other is bad.
It's confronting.
It is. And that's why forgiveness isn't usually a switch you flip. It's a process. The source even calls it a kind of spiritual death.
Spiritual death. Huh?
Because you have to let go of something, let go of the desire for revenge, let go of that part of your identity that's built around the grievance. It's giving something up.
And healing comes through that process, not before it.
That seems to be the idea. You can't wait until you feel better to forgive. Forgiveness is part of feeling better. And crucially, don't make your own peace dependent on getting an apology from the other person. That might never happen.
Right. It has to be an internal shift. So this whole journey, it's ultimately about realizing that potential for enlightenment, isn't it? That deepest inspiration.
Exactly. That potential within every single human being. And it's a constant process, this path. Like in that Ted Hughes poem, Newful.
The line's about, soon he'll be almost a horse, till he's perfect horse.
Yeah. Buddhist perfection isn't about reaching some static, finished state. It's about constantly transcending, constantly being reborn. To be perfect in this sense means you have to be imperfect because you're always becoming.
So our lives, they're not checklists to be ticked off.
No, more like works of art. We're trying to create beauty through ethical practice, through skillful action.
And that takes courage. Yeah. Especially, as the source says, the courage just to be positive.
Oh, yeah. We censor ourselves so much, don't we? Hesitate to give that unexpected gift, talk ourselves out of a kind impulse because we worry how it'll be taken.
And that actually holds us back, makes us poorer.
It really does. It depresses us, that holding back of positive energy. The whole path is about transcending that small, fearful self. True happiness, liberation, it comes from going beyond the idea that you're this fixed, separate I.
How does that work in practice?
Well, there's that reflection. Whose will is it? When you willingly, lovingly do something for someone else, your wills kind of blend. Your consciousness expands. That tight grip of I, me, mine starts to loosen.
That's a beautiful idea. Blending wills and love.
And you can practice this intentionally, like consciously seeking to do the will of a wise teacher or follow a path, not out of blind obedience.
But as a practice.
Yes, a deeply challenging practice, the source calls it, to overcome your own egoistic wanting, your need to have things on your own terms.
Okay, so this brings us back to those niyamas, the natural laws. Karma niyama and dharma niyama. How do they interact?
You can sort of picture karma niyama as the ascending force, our conscious effort, our skillful actions. They refine our consciousness, weaken that self-clinging. It's like building the rocket, getting it ready.
And Dharma and Yama.
That's more like the descending force, the spontaneous unfolding of wisdom, of enlightenment. It's independent of our selfish wanting, like the gravity of a distant star pulling the rocket once it reaches a certain
A
point.
point of no return.
Kind of, where the Dharma, this deeper reality, enters you, as the Source puts it. But the crucial thing is, it's not my achievement. It's about putting yourself in service of something bigger, a culture of growth for everyone, giving up your individual will to that larger process.
So it doesn't matter who gets enlightened, just that enlightenment happens.
That's the ultimate letting go of self. And the very end of that Ted Hughes poem captures the culmination, the transformation.
After the foal becomes perfect horse.
Yes. Then, unearthly horse will surge through him, weightless, a spinning of flame. It will coil his eyeball and his heel in a single terror like the awe between lightning and thunderclap.
Wow. That's intense.
It is. It signifies that becoming the perfect horse, doing the ethical work, prepares you. But then something else, something unearthly comes through you. It's shocking, transforming. The old self is burnt away. A totally new reality opens up.
So the ethical practice isn't the end goal, but it prepares you for something
Yeah.
beyond.
Exactly. It makes you more sensitive, more alive. It prepares you to let go. And if you allow it, this other force, this Dharma, carries you towards a much greater fulfillment. It makes you, paradoxically, more truly fully human.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it feels like the core message is that Buddhist ethics isn't really about following external rules or judging yourself as good or bad.
Not at all. It's much more internal, practical, cultivating intention, taking responsibility, growing compassion. And these things don't just change what you do, they change who you are.
It's a journey. Continuous growth, self-transcendence.
Yeah. So maybe the thought to leave you with is this. What if your own life, right now, through your conscious choices, your skillful actions, your willingness to keep transforming, what if it could become its own kind of spontaneous work of art?
Continually being reborn, expanding,
Yeah.
growing in love and wisdom.
Exactly. Something to think about.